All right. Well, I just want to start off by thanking everybody for showing up. I'm Robert Israel. I'm the VP of Sales here at Fusion Zone. I've got with me Alex Papadopulos, our COO, also the brain, the mastermind behind what you're going to see next. We're going to be talking today about FastLane Leads. This is our digital retail light product that we've developed on our own. And what we've done is we've taken our partnership with dealerships for the last few years, and we've gotten a lot of feedback from what dealers are looking for, what you're looking for digital retail. Something that's not quite on the high end level where you're dealing with a lot of customer interaction to get them through the process. We're looking for something with an easy entry for your customers, something that your customers are going to be more likely to complete. So what you're going to see today is the end product. Of course, this is something we're still going to continue to work on. But like I said, I've got Alex with me. I'd like to turn it over to you, and you can go from there.
Thanks. Yeah, it's good to be here, Robert. I'm glad we're finally talking about this, and I'm going to show everyone a preview of what is now, as you say, a final product ready for production, but by no means what the product will look like in a year. We've got a lot of good ideas that we're already talking about to further enhance this product. But before we kick in, I know obviously digital retailing is by no means a new topic at all. We've been talking about it for years. But the way we got to this build of this product is really due to COVID. What happened a year ago with dealers having to shut down their physical stores, we started hearing a lot about what can we do next? What kind of products can we use to create engagement with our customers and get them to as near a complete deal as possible online. So really taking what's online and enhancing it to get to a point where they come into store and they're almost ready to go, or as close as ready to go as possible to signing that deal. So that's really the reason why we built this out, again with a lot of feedback and a lot of research along the way. Anything to add from your side on that, Robert?
No. So with that in mind, Alex, if you could go ahead, I don't really have much to add from there. But if you could go ahead and bring it up on the screen, let's show everybody what we're talking about.
So we'll jump into the tool itself, and for the purposes of this demo that we're doing, we're just using a demo website that we have, but this is fully featured at the moment. So the tool that we have can be actioned from anywhere on the site where there is vehicle interest. So whether it's a new vehicle or a used vehicle, whether we're looking at the SRP or the VDP, we can enable that on the site to kick off the process. So you'll see I've just loaded up some vehicles on our demo site under new vehicles. You see we've got some Accords out here, and we've got a link here, a CTA, at the moment called Enhanced Lead. But this CTA is, number one, customizable. So we can call this whatever you want. If you want your branding to be something like Start Your Deal, we can do that. This is just a placeholder at the moment. So we're going to kick this off. And the first thing to notice is when the tool opens, we have not left the site. We're not going to a subdomain. We're not going offsite. It's not iframed in from another service. It is truly part of the website. You'll also see that we've got 4 steps built into this process. We've got personal information, calculate a trade-in, pre-qualification, and finally a payment calculator. So the idea with this product is that we want to make it beneficial to, number one, the dealers, but also to the customers. So we'll jump in and go through these steps quickly. And we've got some test details here. Number one, we're capturing the personal information about the customer. So name, email address, phone number, and their zip code. Then we go over to the trade-in. So we have a few options with the trade-in. We can do a trade-in or not do a trade-in. So I'm going to say we do have one. We now have the ability to enter the VIN number of that vehicle. Obviously, a lot of people don't know their VIN number. If they don't, they can say no and go through a typical process that you will see. So we have partnered with Kelley Blue Book, and we're using pretty much the same flow that you would see in another tool that uses KBB or on their website itself. So I'm going to go through a few steps to select the vehicle. Obviously, we're going through year, make, model, trim, and the condition of the vehicle.
And one thing I'd like to put in here real quickly is that when we when you put the level of expectation from the customer fairly low with the amount of information that they have to put in, typically they end up being a lot more honest. So some customers who know that their vehicle may not be in the best shape may be more likely to put in good or fair, where on some other applications they may put excellent. So you're getting a little bit more of an honest answer from the customers, and you're getting more of a reasonable range, like what you see here from Kelley Blue Book. Instead of giving them a specific dollar amount, we're giving them a range to work with, which should be much better for you on the dealership side.
Correct, correct. And now we've also got the option at this time for the customer to enter how much they still owe on that vehicle that they're trading in. And this will be used for the calculations in a few steps down the line. So we're going to say that, you know, we owe $2,000 on this vehicle, and that leaves our leftover trade amount as 12,581. So we've pulled in the vehicle, we get the range with the KBB range for trade-in. We enter the value into the calculator already, and we calculate how much is left over. Now we can go into negative equity situations as well. That will carry over to the final calculator. For the purposes today, we'll just stay in a positive equity situation. So we're now done with the trade-in. All the information is in here, and we can move on to the next step. So the next step is important because it's a pre-qualification. And what that means is that the customer is going to receive a range of their FICO score, but not go through a full application for credit. And we took this approach because number one, we needed for the calculator to get as close to the final dollar amount as possible, but it's also good information for the customer. And a lot of calculators, we see that the customer has the choice of choosing what they believe their credit score is, what they know their credit score is, but that's not always accurate. People tend to either overestimate or undershoot what their credit score is, and we wanted to keep this as accurate as possible. It also allows, at the time of closing the deal, for the dealer to be able to give an accurate number. If we know the FICO score already, which is going to be as close as possible to the final credit application, we can say with confidence that the deal can be made at the amount that the customer is going to be looking at in the tool. So for the pre-qualification, we need a few additional details. It is a soft credit pull, does not affect the credit score of the customer, but we do need some address details of their residence to be able to pull this. And I'm going to click the agree checkbox, which is all the terms and conditions laid out below. Now, using this account, we are going to show a scenario which will come up from time to time, which is where the customer has not lived at their residence for more than 2 years. What tends to happen is that we cannot do an accurate report or an accurate match on their FICO score. So a social security number is needed for a guaranteed lookup. Again, this is not stored. It's not used for a credit application, but it will happen with a small percentage of customers. So for the demo, we are going to show this. A lot of customers are not even going to get to this point. Their address will match up to their FICO score. So we enter the social security number here, and we click submit. Again, this is a fancy user that don't exist, so that social is not going to work for anything else but this.
Yeah. And then also, and Alex, you touched on this briefly, we are still giving the customer an option to not put in their social. So if they're still not comfortable doing that, then what we can do then is we are asking them to estimate their credit. Of course, we rather them, give us more information to be a little bit more accurate, but at least this way we're keeping the transaction going, and we're not having the customer bounce out of this process early because they're not comfortable with the amount of information that they have to give to progress to the next step.
Absolutely. So at this point, we're on to the final calculator, and you'll see there's a number of things going on at this time. So we now have, to recap, the customer's information. We've got their contact details. We have their trade-in, and now we have a pre-qualification, which is a range of their FICO score. And you can see that's displayed at the bottom here. So we've got a range of 725 to 749. It does say fair, and we'll go through that in a few seconds to show how that is determined. Obviously, we know that 725 is probably more of a good score than a fair score, but we'll show the reason for that. So number one, we see the details of the vehicle that we looked at, the selling price, the monthly payment right now at 60 months. So we've defaulted this calculator to 60 months. This can be changed. If you want to show a default term of 72 months or 84 months, that can be done. That can be part of the setup. As well as excluding some of these terms. So some dealers don't want to show the 24-month or the 84-month period. Those can be removed or added depending on the preferred setup. So we can also add a down payment at this point. We already have the trade-in, but we can say, all right, I've got another $2,000 to throw down for this deal. This then gets calculated and obviously reduces the price. So we've got a few things going on under the cost summary. We've got the selling price, the reduction, which is the trade-in and the down payment, dealer taxes and fees, the final amount to be financed, and then the estimated monthly payments. If we break these out, we can go into each one of them and view how those are calculated. So again, for the reduction, we've got our cash down and our trade-in. And for the dealer taxes and fees, we've got a few items here: sales tax, dealer fees, and TT&L. Talking to the dealer taxes and fees, again, these are customizable. So depending on your location or which fees and taxes you want to show in here, they can be added or removed depending on your specific setup. So important to note that we realize that different states, different locations may require different fees or some fees to not be shown. So this can be changed at the point of setup. So the calculator, again, is fairly simple. We're allowing the customer to really play around with their payment options, change the period of in months, to change the terms, change their down payment, and really look at what the deal looks like for them. At this point, really the only thing for them to do is to submit their final calculations to the dealer, at which point your sales process begins. You can contact the dealer, they can call you, set an appointment up. When they come into store, you have a lot of information, as do they, that hopefully the deal can close seamlessly without too much back and forth. So if I go to submit to the dealer, we get a final summary. So again, the customer can see what vehicle they were looking at, what the selling price was, the trade-in details, and their financing that they applied on the calculator at the very end.
So the good thing is this information is being transmitted to your dealership. It's being sent through the CRM. Also, Alex will show you in a moment what the back end looks like and where you can see it on the dashboards. One of the other things that we'd like to emphasize here is that the sales price that's going into this calculation, you get to determine whether that's going to be the best price that you're showing on their main page, like what you see here, or if you've got an additional lower price or an E price or a special price, we can even set it to that. So really the customer, all the variables that are going through at this point are the things that the customer can control as far as down payment. And then obviously they've already included their trade. So what the customer is seeing at this point is a more realistic price. We've all had the customer who comes in who wants, a fully loaded Pilot with no money down at $250 a month. This is a nice way that we can show them what's really expected, what's more realistic when they come to the dealership without having that intimidation of having a salesperson in front of them. We're taking that factor out. It allows the customer, again, to be a little bit more comfortable with the process. They're getting much better about, completing that transaction with you, the back and forth of information, the exchange that's going on there. And so now by the time you get that lead, it's really no longer a lead. This is about as close to a buyer as you're going to have with your just standard internet shopper. And so really that's also the point, and we'll talk about this a little bit more once you see some of the more information that's coming through. Your team is going to have to treat the FastLane leads when they come through a little bit differently than they would than like a best price or reserve a vehicle lead. But Alex, with that, you can go ahead and jump into the dashboard.
Great, and I think there's an important note there on the leads themselves, Robert, is that we are transmitting the leads to the CRM directly. So there's a benefit in that, obviously, because they are in near real time. They also contain as complete data that we have from the customer. So we know that not all customers are going to go through all 4 steps and click on the submit button at the end. So what we did with this is we said, well, let's send the lead to the CRM at the time that we know that the customer is complete. So if the customer does go through and complete the final step and click on the submit button, the entire lead with all of the information that you saw will be in the CRM. If they abandon the process at any point, let's say they do the trade-in, but they don't go through to the pre-qualification, we will send the lead with that information to the point that they left the tool, including the trade-in information. So at any point, we're going to send as much information as we have that the customer has given us during the process. The pre-qualification, then at least the pre-qualification information will be there as well. And I think that was an important feature that we added so that we're not missing out on any interaction that the customer takes in the tool, and we're capturing everything to the point that they abandoned the process.
Yeah, we're still getting the information from the customer no matter what.
Correct. So I'll jump into the dashboard now, and there's really two pieces to this, and I'll start with the leads. In addition to getting the leads into the CRM, we also have the option for you to go into our portal and view the leads directly. This is especially useful if you want to compare and make sure the data matches. It will, but it's good to compare. It's also useful if you don't have a CRM. If we're sending the leads, for instance, just to your sales email address, but you want to view the complete data and see it within a portal, it is available here. So if I just go to one of them that is complete, I can view the lead here, and we'll see that the same information that we went through and that the customer saw in their summary is available. So we have, at this point, their finance details, the interest rate. I will show you in a second where that's calculated from, but we've got the period in terms, the months that they selected on the calculator, how much they were financing, their credit score, their down payment, the monthly amount, the vehicle they were looking at, as well as their trade-in details. So it's a very complete set of data that can be viewed directly in here. We can also click through to the credit score pre-qualification, as well as the KBB image that the customer saw. So for full completeness, exactly what the customer saw can be seen by your finance manager as well. Now, the second part of the portal that we have built is the dealer setup itself. And there's a few important pieces here. Number one, the credit bureau that is used to select or calculate or match up the FICO score can be chosen on demand. So we've got the three big bureaus, Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion. You can choose which one you want to use for the FICO scores. We also have the configurations that I was talking about when we looked at the tool. You can see here the months for financing. We can check these on and off. So if I take 24 and 84 months out of the equation, we are left with a customer seeing 36, 48, 60, and 72. So that can be customized. We can also select the default that the calculator starts with. We don't want to start the calculator at 24 months. We don't want to scare the customer off with a much higher monthly payment than they're probably willing to go for. So in this case, for the demo, we've left it at 60 months. But that can be changed. If we want to do 24, if we want to do 84, that default is selected here. Now, I did mention during the demo that the credit score that came back showed as fair, and this is why. We set up the bands for our credit score ranges over here. So we've said that 800 is excellent, 740 to 799 is good, and 670 to 739 is fair. Obviously, this can be adjusted depending on how you want to present that to the customer. The labels themselves can also be changed. So we don't have to really show a negative by saying low. We could call low and fair both fair, for instance. But what we do here is we assign the interest rate to that range. Obviously, the lower the credit score, the higher the interest rate is likely going to be. So the interest rates are set up here that the calculator that the customer sees is then used to show or calculate their monthly payments. And again, the ranges themselves or the bands can be adjusted and fine-tuned down to specifics if you are aware of a different number that you want to use.
Right, and because you're also setting your own interest rate here, you can give yourself the cushion again. So it does give you an opportunity to walk forward or walk back once your customer gets to F&I. And also, we know that customers, through the buying process, they're either going to switch cars or maybe switch terms. They're typically not going to hold 100% to whatever they bought. Or whatever they've transacted on FastLane Leads. So you feel free to give yourself some room here and there, give yourself some an opportunity. You can still make yourself some money here.
And then finally, the last piece of the customization is, again, I mentioned during the calculator in the summary section, we saw the taxes and fees. These can be updated here. So in this case, we've got sales tax, dealer fee, and TTNL. The label, again, is what is shown on the tool itself. So this label can be edited. We can also change the value. So in this case, we have a 10% sales tax. And again, this is defined as a percentage. Every one of these can be a fixed amount, so just an amount, or a percentage. We've got dealer fee, which is a standard amount of $300, TTNL of $200. So these can be updated and changed. We can also add, so we can have as many of these as we want. So I can just keep adding these. All of them will show and be calculated automatically in the calculator that the customer sees. Again, labels can be added, amounts can be changed, and the amounts can also be changed to a percentage of the selling price. So we're going to remove
this. Can help. Yeah, this can help a lot of you out there who, I know different states have different compliance laws on how you present your pricing. And so this can be as granular or as broad as you need it to be to stay in compliance.
All right, so we've done the demo, we've gone through. I think what you'll see from this is that we've kept the process as simple as possible. Again, as we mentioned at the beginning, we don't want customers to be using a tool for 20 or 30 minutes just to get to a price. We wanted to keep this to a 3 or 4, maybe 5-minute process and still get them an accurate price or an as accurate price as possible, as well as providing the dealer with a lot of information that they can then use to even start the process before the customer comes into store. The same goes for our portal. We've tried to keep it as simple as possible. We're not throwing 100 different customizations out there. So really that is the basis of what we've had. We've looked at value and we've looked at simplicity. Robert, do you want to add anything to the discussion?
Yes, this is something, Alex, that you touched on a little bit earlier, but I do want to get this across to everybody. There's some customizations you can do on the back end, but there's also some customizations you can do on the front end. A lot of dealers do like to brand this as, their type of buying process. And so we can help you set this up on your homepage. We can help you, we can also put in some landing pages and things like that to help explain the process and what the customer can expect going forward. So by the time the customer gets through the vehicle detail page, they know what's going to happen when they click that button. We do have the explanation video also on that first screen with a voiceover kind of explaining what they can expect over the next few stages. But we do this again so you can set that expectation for your customer, which really should help you get a little bit more buy-in from the customer and a higher completion rate. We really just can't say this enough. We're setting this process up to be as simple as possible so your customers will go through with it, because that's what's going to help you out the most. And then, of course, the trick is once the customer's gone through this process, working with your team and with your salespeople so they can continue that expectation for the customer. Know that this isn't just your standard tire kicker. This is somebody who's lower in the funnel. This is somebody who's more ready to buy. And so that first round of communications with that customer does need to be a little bit more engaged, and then just do you want a light color vehicle, dark color vehicle? This is somebody who's beyond that point. And so, if you train your team to communicate with that customer, I think you're going to see a better follow through all the way through, and that should lead to more sales, which is what we're all here to do. Sell more cars.
Great, thank you. So we'll end off there with the webinar. If anyone has feedback or especially question for us, please reach out. You know how to get hold of us already. Respond to whichever medium you got connected to for this webinar, and we'll be happy to jump on a more specific demo or answer any questions, and also take feedback. We're very open to feedback. As we say, this is not the product that we're going to see in 2, 3, 5 years time. So we want to know from you how we can build on this to make it even more powerful for you.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Alex, for walking everybody through everything. I do appreciate it. And also, I appreciate everybody taking the time to work with us today. We look forward to your feedback. And as always, we look forward to expanding our partnership with everybody. So thank you.